from the retrospective reconstruction to the source of the vibration. Something happened once that you haven't been able to accurately describe. Maybe in meditation, maybe in grief, maybe at the edge of sleep or in the particular quality of a moment so beautiful it stopped you. The boundary between you and what you were looking at briefly dissolved. The sense of being a particular person behind particular eyes loosened. And then it passed, and you reached for language. The language didn't fit. You've been describing it ever since in words that are true and wrong simultaneously. Something happened before the words arrived. There was a moment in meditation, in grief, in the particular quality of certain mornings, in the gap after an exhale, in the second after something very beautiful, in the edge of sleep, when the ordinary structure of experience briefly opened. The boundary between observer and observed softened. The sense of being a particular person looking at a world from inside a skull loosened. Something that is difficult to describe was present. And then, the mind arrived, began its work, reached for language, built the description, found the closest metaphors, oceanic, luminous, vast, still, open, whole, assembled these into a sentence that described the experience in the past tense. And the description is true, and the description is not the experience. This is translation loss, the gap between what occurred and what can be said about what occurred. Not a small gap, not a gap produced by inadequate language or limited vocabulary. A structural gap, present in principle, irreducible by better words, because the experience occurred prior to language, and language, however precise, can only follow after. Memory of a non-dual recognition is doubly problematic. The recognition occurred before language. Memory is made of language. You are using the wrong instrument to retrieve the experience. First, memory is reconstruction, not retrieval. Every time you remember an event, you are rebuilding it from stored elements, filling gaps with plausible material, influenced by subsequent experiences and current emotional state. The memory is a version of the event, not the event. Even ordinary memories are reconstructions. The memory of a recognition is a reconstruction of an experience that was in its original form prior to the cognitive systems that do the reconstructing. Second, the experience, in its nature, was the dissolution of the observer-observed structure. Memory is observer-observed structure. You, now, remembering, you are an observer remembering an object, the past experience. But the experience itself was the temporary absence of exactly that structure. So you are using the observer-observed faculty to remember the temporary suspension of the observer-observed faculty. The reconstruction is built from materials that were absent in what is being reconstructed. The memory of the recognition is a map of a territory that had no map while the recognition was occurring. Every teacher of non-duality faces this. The instruction has to use language. The language is made of concepts. The concepts are objects in consciousness. What the instruction is pointing at is prior to objects, prior to concepts, prior to language. The finger points at the moon. The moon is not the finger, but the finger is made of material that is not moon material. The pointing and the pointed at are not the same kind of thing. The words are made of the wrong material. They arrive in the right material. That's the only reason they work. And yet the tradition of pointing has persisted for 3,000 years across multiple cultures with an unusual success rate. Something is being transmitted, even across the structural gap. The teacher's words, even though they are made of the wrong material, arrive in the student's awareness, which is the right material. The words don't contain the recognition, but they can catalyze it by directing attention to what was always already present. The translation loss is real. The pointing works anyway. Kshemaraja, in the Spanda Nirnaya, Fix your attention on the source of the vibration, not the vibration itself. This is the instruction that makes translation loss irrelevant. The description of the recognition, the retrospective reconstruction, the ocean metaphor, the careful words built after the fact, is itself a vibration, a spanda, a movement of consciousness taking the form of language about consciousness. The description is not the recognition, but the description arises from the same source as the recognition. Stop translating the experience. The experience is not improved by translation. It is present before the translation begins, and after the translation fails. Fix attention not on the description, but on what the description is arising in, not on the wave, but on the ocean generating the wave, not on the pointing finger, but on what is doing the pointing, not on the memory of the recognition, but on what is present right now, in this moment, in which the memory is arising. The recognition is not in the past. The past recognition is in the past. The recognition, the thing the past recognition was a time-bound expression of, is available now. It was available before the description was written. It is available now as the description is read. It will be available after the description is forgotten. The translation loss is not a problem to be solved by better translation. It is the invitation to stop translating and notice what is present before and after and during every translation. The Spanda Nirnaya's certainty, its name means the decisive verdict on vibration, is this: the source of the vibration is always available to direct attention, not always noticed, always available. The description of the opening was built from words. Words arose from the space before words. That space is not a past event, it is the present fact of what you are. Stop translating. Notice. This